Welcome, everyone, to the 101st episode of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am your host, Triple J. Joining me is my co host, Dr. Games 101.
What's up, guys? Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day.
Yep, we do have fireworks going. I do have fireworks going off in my area, so you might hear the fireworks in my background. Do you have fireworks going off in your area, or did they stop?
Fireworks in the background, as well as we have a parties in our field of our apartment complex outside with music. So, for another hour at most, we hear music. So, that'll be all for now after that.
Okay, so we're just gonna continue. We're just gonna pick up and do the episode we tried to do Saturday that Discord prevented us from doing. Um, but we are connected via Skype, so we can do this. Um,
Old school shit right there, too, right?
y-
Skype?
yeah. Well, I think almost everything is a little old school. I mean, maybe Zoom is new, but like everything else is. I
right.
mean, I think even Discord's old school if you think about it. I mean, how long has Discord been around?
It was like 2016, 2017, I think it is.
Okay, so it's still a little new, but Skype has been around for like at least since the 2000s.
Definitely.
All right,
I still got my
so
$5 on my Skype as well.
well, this is my actually the first time I ever actually used Skype, so this is a learning experience for me.
Yeah, welcome to Skype, my friend. It's good.
Thank,
It's good experience.
thank you. So you ready to start with the first article for tonight?
Oh, yes, indeed. Let's go and continue on with that matter.
The A Quiet Place game breaks its silence with first reveal trailer. I want to see if I can. I don't want to close the Skype window, so I'll just leave it up. Fans of the A Quiet Place films may remember that a video game based on the franchise was announced almost 3 years ago. After years of worrying yet oddly appropriate silence, publisher Saber Interactive has revealed the title and first trailer for A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead. The first person adventure is an original story starring a young woman who must trek across a new area of the film's post apocalyptic landscape for unknown reasons, though the game's description mentions she's dealing with some kind of family drama. Like the movies, keeping quiet to avoid the wrath of the sound sensitive alien invaders requires using tools such as a customized microphone that measures the sound levels in an area. Stealth is key, and players must carefully observe environments to create their own paths while avoiding noise making hazards such as stepping on broken glass, as seen in the video. The trailer didn't show any combat, but if it's anything like the films, guns are likely to be present, but perhaps de emphasized. They're quite loud, you see. Interestingly, A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead seems to have switched developers. When the game was first announced, Alogica was at the helm. Now the game credits Stormmind Games, the team behind the remothered horror series, and recently, Batora Lost Haven. A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead was originally slated to launch in 2022, the same year A Quiet Place Part 2 hit theaters. With this trailer arriving ahead of the June 28th premiere of A Quiet Place Day 1, the game is again riding the momentum of a new film release. A Quiet Place: The Road Ahead is coming sometime this year for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC. So we got some comments. Uh, no, we don't. No comments. So, what do you think of this game, A Quiet Place? Do you remember like the trailers for the film?
I saw the recent trailer for the game itself. It looks good actually. It looks like some I have a game called Insight as well as another game called Nocturnius or something. It basically Inside is similar to that of this A Quiet Place, but the Inside game is like it's 2D or 2.5D gameplay. Now as far as Quiet Place, obviously it's 3D, and I did hear about the movies over the last at least 10 years now, almost 10 years now, because of came out of theaters sometime like 7 years ago, and the most recent one that came out is this year, if I remember correctly as well. So it looks good. I saw those trailers as well. But the last time I saw the movie, any movies, at least in theater, was at least about 3 years now with Sonic 2. So things definitely changed because obviously my local theater got shut down as of 2 or 3 months ago. So now I have to go to further out into Queens and see if we can find out, see if I can watch that movie sometime this summer if I can. So
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, if you're a big fan of stealth games, this might be something worth checking out. So, That's something to keep in mind um, when this game does eventually release. I've never seen any of the Quiet Place movies that this game is basically trying to ride the success of. So it's going to be something that you're going to have to. So it might be best to watch the movies, at least one of them, before jumping into this game if you do plan to jump into it. But um, yeah, I mean but it's only for current gen. So if you still don't have a PS5 or Xbox Series, um, then you're not going to be able to try out this game.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
That's my answer.
Okay.
Ready to move
I
on.
okay. Yes, please, especially after that. Yars Rising blends Metroidvania. Hold on, I am going to move. Yars Rising blends Metroidvania, Mega Man, and stealth this September. Yars Rising is the successor of the 1982 Atari classic Yars Revenge. However, on the surface, it has little to do with the original game created by Howard Scott Warshaw. After all, one is a 2D space shooter, while another is a modernized sci-fi Metroidvania. However, with homages to Atari and gaming past galore, all developed by a renowned studio like WayForward, this release could be one to look forward to when it arrives on its newly announced September release date. Taking control of a hacker named M, codename Yar, players must blast, hack, and sneak their way through various areas. As she progresses, she unlocks new powers that allow her to take out her enemies more easily, and in true Metroidvania fashion, access new areas. Yar's Rising is published by Atari and pays homage to the company's past, including bosses and minigames that borrow gameplay elements from the classic Atari titles. Though the game is coming to a broader array of platforms, PlayStation 5 and Switch players can pick up physical editions of the game. We recently had a chance to go hands-on with Yars Rising and included our impressions in our list of the coolest things we saw at Summer Game Fest. To read that entry and see the rest of the list here, Yars Rising arrives on PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC on September 10th. Any articles here? Any comments on it? Nope. So Yars Rising, they said it's like Metroidvania. Is that a game that you would be interested in trying out, or no?
If I recall correctly, what Metroidvania, that's based on the Metroid games as well with Samus, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I only so far played either. I didn't play GameCube version of the Metroid, but I ever play at least either NES or SNES Metroid games, at least once in my lifetime, playing being a gamer and all. So it'd be nice to see the mix of the elements of the Metroidvania with Mega Man stealth as well. So if they put some elements like that of the Metal Gear Solid elements in, that would be perfect as well. Obviously, we don't want to give too much hope and dreams to this game. Too much like we did with that other Fallout game that's supposed to be the best ever Fallout game, like Fallout 76 and all. But as compared oranges to an orchard of okra. So,
Right.
but on a serious note though, Yars Rising. I think I saw the trailer earlier this month. I'm not sure, not this month literally, but the last month. But I can't remember much of it though. So let's hope the next trailer will clear some things up, before it's released. So
Yeah. Well, but this sounds like a game that I would be more interested in, not just because it's on available on Xbox One base models, but also because this is like Metroidvania, so it's also side scrolling, kind of like side scrolling anyway. Um, so this is something that I definitely would be willing to check out. I never played the first one on Atari. Obviously, I never had Atari, so I was too. That came out a few years before I was born. So, my first console was Nintendo. But any game that's made like inspired by that, along with Metroidvania gameplay, I'd love to try that out.
oh yeah, and if I recall correctly, I did play or heard of Atari. Obviously, I was with gamers here. We heard of Atari years back, And the only thing I come close to playing any Atari-related games was this joystick I can mention to you guys at least a year or two in the past, previous podcast episode. And basically, this particular joystick has like a built-in like 15, 20 games in one. And
Right.
it never showed Yars Rising or per se or any Yars games, but it was very old school game from like the 1970s. I'm like, wow, this is some pretty cool stuff here. So I played like this game where it's like you're this dragon or you're fighting a dragon, whatever, but it's all pixely and stuff like that. So I still have the joystick. I have to find some way to hook it up and and record it some one day and then do some gameplay with you guys on YouTube. So to show you guys what I'm talking about. So I'll try to do that sometime this year, hopefully. So if I can find it, that is.
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, obviously Atari. There are some Atari games that I would still play or at least try out today. Combat is one of them, with the one with the tanks.
Yeah.
So I'd definitely try that out. Um, Even though we got more games like Battle Tanks and stuff like that, if for the N64.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, but like any side-scrolling shooter, I'm willing to give at least a chance. So, I'll be interested. Obviously, I'm not going to pay $70 for this game, but I don't think they're crazy enough to charge that much when it does release. Um, so, if I can find it for a good price, I'd be willing to try this game out.
This is all going to be on Nintendo as well, too, right?
What?
It's going to be on Nintendo Switch as well, too, right?
It's it's on everything, last
Okay.
gen and current gen. So,
Okay. Not a problem.
yep. So, ready to move on?
Yeah, so we can move on now.
All right. Are you doing?
I'm sorry. Sorry I stood out.
Okay. Mario and Luigi Brothership is an RPG releasing later this year. Nintendo kicked off its June 2024 Nintendo Direct presentation with the surprise reveal of a new Mario and Luigi game. This is the first new entry. There were some remakes a few years ago. In 9 years, the game is subtitled Brothership, as apparently a seafaring adventure that will include new evolved bro moves. The game is coming to Nintendo Switch November 7th. A big question mark that remains is who's the developer? The series was created by and developed by Alpha Dream, but the studio closed down in 2019. So, there are a few comments. Cherry Limeade goes, "Be still, my heart. This makes me so happy." Smack goes, "Far as I'm concerned, Nintendo knocked it out of the park today." RME33 goes, "Oh, hell yeah, I was worried this series was done when Alpha Dream closed, but this won't stop me from wanting Super Mario RPG 2. So, how do you feel that we know a little bit more about the next Super Mario RPG game?
It's going to be interesting to see how this game will play out because last time we ever had like a major Mario RPG style type of gameplay was with the Super Nintendo game Mario RPG. It's called.
No, they had Paper Mario. On N64. They had the Thousand Year Door on GameCube, and I think they had Bowser's Inside Story at on Game Boy Advance. So they've done this before, and they've had remakes recently. But this is the first. This is the first game, as they said, in 9 years that's original.
I'm currently in the podcast one, Debbie. Come on. Sorry about that, guys.
So, as I was saying, yeah, nine. They said this is the first one in 9 years because they've had RPG games beforehand. It's
Okay.
been, like I said, Paper Mario was the same format. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which was like a sequel to the original Paper Mario. They had what else? Bowser's Inside Story for Game Boy Advance, or I think that might have been the DS actually.
No.
So, yeah. So, and don't forget they've been remaking games like Paper Mario. At least I think they remade the GameCube one. But this is the first original one in nearly a decade.
If I recall correctly, though, that the Paper Mario was an RPG game. Really, I thought it was like a platforming. No.
Nope.
As you can tell, I never played
Because
Paper Mario, so that's why I had to. I was thinking to myself, wait, I got this wrong before. So now I see why.
keep in mind, Paper Mario was on the N64, and on the N64 we already had Super Mario 64.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean, it's going to be interesting. I've seen lots of stuff they do in the Super Mario RPG games that are very innovative. You know, um, obviously, a lot of people love the RPG games. That's why re-releasing them a few years ago has been going pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And now we're going to get a brand new one. I wish I've had more to try out, at least the console ones. Maybe I'll get my hands on Paper Mario and Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I think there was one for Wii too. I don't remember.
It was a third Paper Mario as well, but they didn't do so I hear.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe but again, so this is, we're gonna see what they do. This is obvious. This is gonna be from a different developer since the original developer shut down 5 years ago.
I see. Wow.
Yeah, so it's really gonna be resting in the hands of who this new developer is and what they do. If they bring anything new to the table that doesn't alienate fans of the RPG, uh, Super Mario RPG fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Uh, well, if I recall correctly, with this new Brotherhood game console is going to come out this year or so, um, it's going to be based on a 3D version or like a 2.5D version. What's going to happen with that matter?
The image I saw, it looked like maybe 2.5D
Okay.
because
So,
there was a Wii game that was like side-scrolling. You could switch basically between 2D and 3D anytime you wanted. Like
okay.
there were some ways you don't like if say a big hill was in your way and it was too high to jump up,
Yeah.
you just switch it from 2D to 3D and then you could walk around it. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
That sounds so like simple.
Yeah, so there's gonna so I mean I don't know if that's gonna be in this one, but like I said, Bowser's Inside Story had where you were like say you were on the bottom level and you had to get to the top level. Bowser would have to drink water to fill his body with water, and then Mario and Luigi could swim up to the second level. So if they had to get to the top level for whatever, beaten any of the games, and I'd love to get my hands on easy that would be since GameCube games are quite expensive.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, I would definitely love to try it. I do have Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars on Super Nintendo, or rather for Wii U Virtual Console. Um, so I do have that. I got lost like in the second chapter, like some cave you're supposed to go through. So there's yeah, like this game. Um, I just wonder if they're going to bring anything new, but if they do bring something new, is it going to alienate the current fan base of games that love these type of games?
Yes, us 30+ year olds especially.
Yeah. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We can move on.
All right. Zelda is finally the protagonist in The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom, out September. For years, fans of The Legend of Zelda have clamored for the titular princess to star in her own game. But even as she's become a more prominent character in recent entries, the Zelda-led Zelda game has yet to appear on store shelves. In today's Nintendo Direct, that wish was finally granted in The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. It's up to Princess Zelda to save Hyrule when Link is captured. While the game takes its art style from 2019's Link's Awakening remake, this title is not a remake of any kind, and there's no clear indication that is connected to Link's Awakening. In this adventure, Zelda uses a new magic item called the Tri-Rod to journey across Hyrule. The Tri-Rod can create echoes of items like tables, beds, or boxes to climb and explore the overworld and its dungeons, but it doesn't stop there. Echoes or water blocks can be used to swim up and over certain obstacles, while trampolines allow players to easily leap across gaps. Throughout the gameplay demonstration, series producer Hiji Anuma explains that players can also make echoes of enemies, and that these enemies can be used in combat on your side. Zelda captures a moblin to fight some slimes, then uses meat to lure in some bird enemies, and summons a Deku Baba to snap them up. Anuma goes on to say that there are so many echoes in the game and that hasn't even counted them all. We'll have to learn what the limits of echoes are, if any, some other time. As the trailer continues, we get more glimpses into Zelda, um, into who Zelda will be interacting with throughout the game, and includes two kinds of Zoras, some Deku shrubs, a Shaika person, potentially Impa, and the Great Deku Tree. It also features some 2D platforming and underwater sections, as well as Zelda using birds and plants with helicopter like leaves to glide.
Ooh.
The game launches alongside a Golden Hyrule themed Switch Lite, which you can view in the gallery of images above. Luckily, you won't have to wait long for either of them. The handheld and The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom will be available later this year. So, um, there are comments. Um, Alec Kirk goes, fingers crossed this goes better than Zelda's previous solo outings. Yeah, especially, yeah. Um, Familiar Spirit goes, cannot wait. This immediately shot up to the most anticipated game of the year for me. It's been 10 years since the last new 2D Zelda game, Triforce Heroes notwithstanding, and I've been itching for a new one for years. Having more open ended puzzle design sounds great. And MN356 goes, Astrobot is my most anticipated. Between all the announcement this year, though it's safe to say, not only did Nintendo have the best showing, it was still a mediocre showing. If E3 wasn't already dead this year would have killed it for being absolutely abysmal from everyone. Okay. So, how do you feel about a Zelda game where you'll be playing as Zelda instead of Link?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think the last time we ever did the Zelda game ever did anything for Zelda specifically, it's got to be at least what back there that uncommon system. I forgot that name. It's not called uncommon, but it's a system where it's like 3D and it's realistic at the same time. I
You
forgot
would
the
think you're thinking of the CDI. I think they've done more before since then.
okay. Yeah, because I don't remember seeing a Zelda. Not obviously we hear the Legend of Zelda, obviously, but we never heard of the actual Princess Zelda being the main character slash protagonist, playable character necessarily. So
Right. Well, it's not that common. I mean, she's done a few.
okay,
Let me look up, see if I can find more examples.
I mean, of course, it's the fighting game or the what's it called, the Hyrule Warriors, something like that. That's coming that's close to playable with can play Zelda and all Princess Zelda. So
Yeah. But I just want to see if I can find out more of those titles because let's see where Zelda was the protagonist. It brings up. Um, so they're just bringing up Echoes of Wisdom, which is the new game.
okay, so this was gonna be the first then, by looks of things.
Oh no, because the system you were thinking of had two games where Zelda was the protagonist.
Okay, I was right partially speaking.
Yeah. So hold on, let me let my dog in. He's scared of the fireworks, so he's trying to find some place he can't hear them.
Oh yeah, okay.
Okay, so yeah, so this is basically um, so I mean it's not so bad that we get to. It's pretty cool that we finally get to play as Princess Zelda. It's just her other games, like while Link had good ones and bad ones, I don't remember Zelda having any good ones.
I see. It's kind of like that of like Princess Peach have her own game that's coming out. That came out sometime last year or so, right? Is that correct? With Mario.
She's had her own games before, but they're usually like WarioWare or something like that. Like it's not something that gets mainstream attention.
Right, right. Yeah, you know what? You know what? The princess or these female characters be like too over powerful. You know, like they did with Rey in Star Wars and all. So,
Yeah, that's true.
but the movie said this with Star Wars, and now here with Star Wars, I'm not trying to change subject here completely around, but but still, like that Star Wars current Star Wars brand and or the TV series thereof that's great as I hear. So, not good.
Now my dog wants to leave because he can hear the fireworks in here. One moment. I told you you could hear the fireworks in. I mean, he's running like under my chair and everything because of the fireworks. And then like he was scratching at the door because he wanted to get out. As soon as I closed the door with him outside, he starts scratching at my door again.
Uh,
It's like you can hear the fireworks in here just as good as anywhere else. So yeah, so that's the problem with having a small dog during nights where there's fireworks. So anything else to add or ready to move on?
we can move on.
All right. Super Mario Party Jamboree revealed. Nintendo has announced the latest installment of the Mario Party series. Super Mario Party Jamboree is a brand new entry in the franchise, but it's looking as if the general thrust of play remains mostly intact with a few notable additions. The reveal trailer shows Mario and friends descending on a small archipelago of islands that make up a massive resort. Across the many boards, players can encounter 110 different mini-games. Jamboree includes 5 new boards: Mega Wiggler's Tree Party King, Bowser's Keep Rollin' Raceway, Goomba Lagoon, and Rainbow Galleria, plus returning boards from earlier games, including Mario's Rainbow Castle for Mario Party and Western Land for Mario Party 2. We got to see a bit of how the board games play out in a couple of these locales. Rollin' Raceway includes a turbo dice item that allows players' carts to zip forward up to 40 spaces with a good roll. In Goomba Lagoon, a changing tide adjusts the path across the board. The most surprising addition is the new Koopathon game mode, which allows up to 20 players to jump in together online. The early gameplay on offer here calls to mind other online party titles like Fall Guys. Nintendo is touting Jamboree as the largest game in the series. We'll see how true that is when the game launches for Switch on October 17th. Comments. RME33 goes, Mario Party is proof that if you're just willing to put in the least amount of effort possible, you can achieve stunning levels of financial success. Max goes, it is proof that Nintendo could jangle keys in front of people and they'd still buy it. And RME33 said in response, mostly even Nintendo jangling keys has some entertainment value, but MP is like trying to entertain adults with fake plastic keys made for toddlers and succeeding. Okay, so I don't agree with that. I'm actually a big fan of the Mario Party series. Have you had any experience with the Mario Party games?
To be honest with you, I never really played any of the Mario Party games in a consistent level at all, like more than an hour manner, because it wasn't that popular in my circle of friends as I was growing up with the N64 and all. The games I usually play were like wrestling, fighting, perhaps shoot 'em ups, FPS like GoldenEye and all. So I kind of partially missed out on Mario Party most of my life. But I do keep track of Mario Party from time to time. Like the most recent one I can think of is the one with Bowser Jr. in it. That was like an actual story, first time ever of a Mario Party game. So it's pretty cool they did that for the first time. This is like with the Wii U, if not the Wii.
It started with the Nintendo 64.
Well, I'm talking about the one I can remember.
Oh, okay.
The one I remember to keep track of the most. The
I
latest
think you
one.
went. I think the Wii, maybe the Wii U.
Right.
I know Bowser Jr. was available, and keep in mind, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was just a port of the original Mario Kart 8. So
I see, of course, yeah.
um, they just unlocked everything from the start and said, "Hey, now you have a reason to buy it for a Switch."
Yeah, I hear Mario Kart is one of the most popular Mario Kart games of all time.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a lot of experience with Mario Party. I grew up with the original. I've tried out the Wii games because I rented them from GameFly, but I hate what they did because like in the original Mario Parties, it was a board game. It was, everyone started out on a board. You had alternating paths that you could take if you wanted. you could and you could basically and basically the idea was to get as many stars as you could before everyone's turns had run out.
Right.
And then like in later entries they started making it where you traverse the board together because like you're in a four-person vehicle or whatever, so it's not who makes it to the end quick, it's I guess whoever has like the most stars or coins or whatever, um, but you all make it to the end at the same time instead of just having a set number of turns. um, I used to on Daily Motion have a when I had my count up there. I did have a video of me and two other guys playing. I think it was Mario Party 6 on GameCube,
Okay.
and we had a lot of fun with it. And I do remember like even the original Mario Party, there was like 6, 7 boards. I think maybe even 8 because when you got 100 stars, you unlocked Bowser's board, which
Right.
is the hardest. Um, but Mario Party also had its own share of controversy because the people's were getting like blisters on their palms from some of the mini games.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, Mario Party Jamboree sounds awesome. So again, I would be interested if I had a Switch. Um, and I just wonder if this is going to be, we really haven't had a Mario Party game on the Wii U or the Switch until now.
Okay.
Mario Party 10 was on the Wii, so um, they're finally bringing this series back, and I would love to see it.
Okay.
This is a series that I do have some nostalgia for, so and I do plan to pick up at least some of the Mario Party games, um, retro ones, as soon as I can afford it. I haven't been able to make online purchases because I just got my debit card a couple days ago.
I
So
understand. And what's be interested? It would be interesting for Nintendo to do is do like a compilation type of package of like all in one, all Mario Party games in one game, and then sell it for about like 60, say $80 for it. I want to pay something like that, $80 for that kind of offering.
that
And
would be awesome, but they would have to cut some games. Because it'd probably be large. Because keep in mind, 10 games, and they each had what, maybe 30 games in there each, maybe more. So you'd be talking like hundreds of games.
oh
Um,
yeah, definitely biggest thing though, Triple J. You gotta understand too. Like each cartridge game at the time was like what, not even a gigabyte, so they can fit all that into one game, like a to the Switch cartridge, or even sell it as a digital content as well too. So
Yeah, but also at the same time, some of the controls like in the original Mario Party, people would get blisters because like one game was where you had to rotate the analog stick to pedal on a bike, and you had basically had to turn the light on by pedaling, producing power
hmm
before Boo got to you. Um, so also there might be some games like that where it's just the controls would not port over well to the Switch if it was made for the N64. Um, for games like that, again, that might actually work in its favor because those are the games you cut if the controls don't port over well.
I'm
Most of the
certain. I'm
most
certain.
of
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say most of the games though shouldn't have that. Most of the mini games shouldn't have that problem.
Right, but I'm certain that they can alleviate that particular problem by buying a separate controller for especially for that particular game or games. Depends upon how you look at it. For
Yeah, that's
example,
true.
let's say the Joy Cons were cheap and brittle back during this release game and all. They can upgrade it to a new Joy Con for the Nintendo Switch 2, whatever, or a new consoles next year or so, and then take it from there.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe maybe Jamboree could be the test subject for that.
Definitely.
Because they're touting over 110 They're touting 110 mini games. That is the largest that I know of in any Mario Party. Um, yeah. So hey, this is if I had a Switch, like I said, I'd be kind of jealous. Well,
Oh
I
yeah.
am kind of jealous that I'm gonna miss out on this one. But happy to see that though that the franchise is making a comeback because I thought the franchise was dead.
Yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Especially if you think about too in recent time where everyone has their own console, their own field of like gameplay, meaning that like because back in the day you just have like five friends to come over to your house and play Mario Party no problem. Now it's like everything's online only or online for one screen, and that's it. You can't have no couch co-op for that matter anymore, or at least for a select few games at best in today's world of gaming.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll fix that matter with Mario Party Jamboree, where it's like a couch co-op for like up to like 4 or 5 people, and then take it from there. So
Yeah, because I think they did that. I think they did that for like the latest Mario Party. Like one person got. I think it was actually on Wii U. Now that I think about it, I think Angry Joe did it because one person would get the gamepad. Player one would get the gamepad, and you could have four other human players get the Wii Mote and nunchuck.
mm-hmm.
So they could bring it up to five. Maybe they could bring it up even more. Um, yeah, so we'll just see what happens when Mario Party Jamboree does come out later this year.
Okay,
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
you can move on now.
Okay. That's a little bit later. Microsoft confirms Xbox Game Pass June 2024 Wave 2 lineup. EA Sports FC 24, My Time at Sandrock, and more. Microsoft has confirmed the games coming to Xbox Game Pass during the second half of June 2024. Highlights include EA Sports FC 24, My Time at Sandrock, and Robinhood, Sherwood Builders. Out today, June 18th, is The Chinese Room Still Wakes the Deep for cloud, PC, and Xbox Series as a day one title. IGN Still Wakes the Deep returned a 6 out of 10. We said Still Wakes the Deep is nearly on-rail structure and ineffective scares undersell and its otherwise fantastic setting. Tomorrow, June 19th, My Time at Sandrock for cloud console and PC hits Game Pass. IGN awarded it an 8 out of 10. We said whether collecting resources, building items, or passing the day away, playing minigames with townies, My Time at Sandrock is a joy. Then on June 20th, 2D Sandbox RPG Kepler for PC hits PC Game Pass. Following that, on June 25th, EA Sports FC 24 for cloud console and PC hits PC Game Pass and Ultimate via EA Play amid the ongoing Euro 2024 tournament. Image and Forms platform mining Metroidvania SteamWorld Dig for cloud and console follows on June 26 alongside its sequel, SteamWorld Dig 2 for console and PC, which returns to the Game Pass library. Then rounding out Wave 2 of June 2024's lineup, Mean Astronauts open world RPG Robinhood, Sherwood Builders for cloud console PC hits Xbox Game Pass on June 27th. So, that's Still Wakes the Deep came on the 18th, My Time at Sandrock on the 19th, Kepler on the 20th, EA Sports FC 24 on the 25th, SteamWorld Dig on the 26th, so did SteamWorld Dig 2. Wow. They put both games, they put the game and its sequel out on Game Pass on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And then Robinhood, Sherwood Builders on Cloud PC and Xbox Series on the 27th. As usual, a number of games leave Game Pass alongside the refresh. You get a 20% membership on games you would like to keep. The ones that left on the 30th were FIFA 22 for console and PC, FIST, Forged in Shadow Torch for cloud console and PC. The rest are for cloud console and PC. Stranded Deep, Story of Seasons, Friends of Mineral Town, Sword and Fairy, Together Forever, and leaving tomorrow on July 5th is Cricket 22. So let's see if there's comments. Watch time goes, I'm glad they release these every 2 weeks so we could complain about how bad June is while also talking about how good June is. Collusion Works goes, pretty interesting month. Octopath and 2 are the big stars, but I'm really enjoying the smaller titles in between all the AAA bangers that are constantly landing on Game Pass. And Cheap Sushi goes, agree, friend. Octopath Traveler 2 is all I need this month. I'm also going to do all the DLC I missed for Callisto Protocol as well. Do any of these games interest you in getting Game Pass again? I have to be honest, not me.
Well, I did play sort of fair that they already left the game in Game Pass a few days ago. That was all right game. It's like a blockbuster double A type of game where it's like you get it for the thrills and all and the love, romance, action, and everything else in between. I only played so far an hour of it, an hour and a half at most. It was all right. I still gotta play more of it when it's back on Game Pass or just buy it on sale for whatever's on sale this year, next year. Now, as far as Octopath Travel 1 and 2, I've been knowing about these games for at least a good year and a half now, and I've always wanted to play them when it's on Game Pass. So it's finally, it's on Game Pass, first time ever in a while, the first Octopath Traveler. So it looks good. The trailer I saw, both 1 and 2. I always want to play the RPG games, and I did play Edenwood Chronicles. I know it's a separate game altogether from the Game Pass right now, but it was on Game Pass earlier this year. That was a good game too. Edenwood Chronicles, the 100 Heroes type of game. It's a prequel to Edenwood Chronicles. So it's yeah, man. Like the June is kind of like both a hit and miss at the same time month. At the time of its of its scheduled recall of games and all, and in addition to the games as well to the Game Pass. So it's a give and take at the end of the day. So
Yeah, so I mean, to be honest, a lot of these probably were made by small developers, which is why I never heard anything about these games since I don't have Game Pass anymore.
oh yeah,
Um, yeah, but it's just I still feel like if it was a great single A game or even a mid-sized developer, I think there would have been at least something about it. Obviously, that's not always the case. But yeah, so I mean, I really can't speak for any of these games leaving Game Pass. And honestly, I don't even think any of these games are games I would have tried if I still had Game Pass.
right,
So it's kind of like, it's just kind of like, yeah, this is, it's. I feel like when I see like these games, granted, I just know like a brief description, but even like in the months past, it's maybe one or two games, if I'm lucky, per month. Like, wow, I wish I had still had Game Pass just so I could try that game. You know, uh, that's just the way I feel. Um, like I said, none of the other game. I've tried many of the different games when I did have my Game Pass membership. Some are still on, some aren't. Um, but it's just like these new ones. It's not like I'm hearing anything where I'm like, wow, I wish. Like I said, a lot of games on Game Pass. It's great for small developers, but it's not like I heard anything about these games that would get me hyped.
right.
Um, Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Move on.
All right, next one. Paradox Interactive closes Tectonic Studio the same week it cancels its first game, Life by You. Earlier this week, um, Paradox Interactive announced it was canceling Life by You, a simulation game meant to rival Sims in development at Paradox Tectonic, with early access earlier this month before an indefinite delay. The early access launch never happened, as Life by You was subsequently canceled, and now in the same week, Paradox Interactive has announced it is closing Tectonic, as reported by Game Developer. This is difficult and drastic news for our colleagues at Tectonic who've worked hard on Life by You's early access release, Paradox Interactive CEO Frederick Wester writes in a press release. Sadly, with the cancellation of their solo project, we have to take the tough decision to close down the studio. We are deeply grateful for that hard work in trying to take Paradox into a new genre. As previously noted, this studio closure is happening shortly after Paradox Interactive canceled development on Life by You. Wester said at the time, "For a long time we've had hopes for Life by You and the game potential we saw in it, but it is now clear that the game will not be able to meet our expectations. A version that we'd be satisfied with is too far away, and therefore we are taking the difficult decision to cancel the release." In the span of days, Life by You was canceled and the studio behind it, Tectonic, closed. This is another blow to an industry bleeding developers and studios left and right, and Tectonic's closure joins an ever growing list of disheartening closures and layoffs in 2024. Earlier this month, Dead by Daylight developer Behavior Inactive laid off 95 employees. Fave Dom and Dauntless developer Phoenix Labs laid off the majority of its staff and canceled its in development games back in May. And that same week, Square Enix announced it will begin layoffs as part of structural reforms. In May, Xbox closed four Bethesda studios, including Hi-Fi Rush developer Tango Gameworks and Redfall studio Arcane Austin. Take-Two Interactive closed Roller Dome studio Roll 7 and Kerbal Space Program 2 studio Intercept Games, alongside major layoffs to its indie publisher Private Division label. That same week, we learned Deliver Us Mars developer Koken Interactive had laid off nearly its entire staff. Elsewhere in the year, EA laid off roughly 670 employees across all departments, resulting in the cancellation of Respawn's Star Wars FPS game. PlayStation laid off 900 employees across Insomniac, Naughty Dog, Guerrilla, and more, closing down London's studio in the process too. The day before, Until Dawn developer Supermassive Games announced it laid off 90 employees. At the end of January, we learned hold on. Okay, so we're almost done through the history. I was like, wait a minute, how far is this article going back?
Hmm.
At the end of January, we learned Embracer Group had canceled a new Deus Ex game in development at Eidos Montreal and laid off 97 employees in the process. Also in January, Destroy All Humans remake developer Black Forest Games reportedly laid off 50 employees, and Microsoft announced it was laying off 1,900 employees across its Xbox, Activision Blizzard, and ZeniMax teams as well. Outrider Studio, People Can Fly laid off more than 30 employees in January, and League of Legends company Riot Games laid off 530 employees. Lords of the Fallen publisher CI Game laid off 10% of its staff. Unity will lay off 1,800 people by the end of March, and Twitch laid off 500 employees. We also learned that Discord had laid off 170 employees. That layoffs happened as PTW, a support studio that's worked with companies like Blizzard and Capcom, and that SteamWorld build company Thunderful Group let go roughly 100 people. Dead by Daylight developer Behavior Inactive was also reportedly laid off 45 people too. Okay, so that's basically everything that's happened just in the calendar year of 2024. Comments. Pilot Nexus goes, I'd never heard of this game before seeing this article. However, a game to compete with The Sims would have been a good thing, as competition would hopefully have improved The Sims games too going forward. A shame it's now not going to happen, and a bit more brutal that the studio has been closed too. Slippy Slappy goes, this wasn't good enough. It looked like what The Sims is supposed to evolve into, and already a step above The Sims 4 Abomination, or Abomination. And Zach Freeland goes, they realized it couldn't compete with WW. So, what do you think of this studio not only laying off The Sims, not only laying off its developer, but canceling the game, and then laying off basically the whole team?
Yeah, that sucks, and I think it's that first ever game that made that was compete with the Sims franchise. Because for the last couple of Sims games, especially for Sims 4 and all, it started to become like a crappy show as far as like with the DLC involved, up to like $1,000 worth of DLC to download from for The Sims 4 alone. So they could do that. The company behind Sims 4, to do that because there was a competition for another game like that to compete with their Sims 4 games. So this will be a great breaker in competition, and then it may not be the best ever, override Sims 4 or any Sims game for by default anytime soon, but it'll be a good start to it all. So it's just, it was only a matter of time. But they got laid off the people and also shut down the studio, so now I gotta wait a few more years till someone else comes to fix the competition around again. So that's how it is in recent time with these gaming studios because they create a game and didn't do so well and it got shut down afterward. It's a horrible cycle in now, for the last at least 10 years now. So
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, looking at I saw I saw a picture of Life by You and everything. It looks like it looks like they said it looks like what The Sims should have been.
Right.
The people look a lot more realistic. The worlds look a lot more vibrant and occupied. Not like everything like on a 2D plane by like that The Sims has. So this looked like it would have been, you know, if maybe The Sims took place in like a metropolis, New York, or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But the character models looked a whole lot different and looked a lot more like humans than Sims do. Um, yeah, but unfortunately, The Sims is going to continue not to have competition, which is good for us because we get to make fun of The Sims when
Oh
they
yeah.
mess up.
Yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, all these people, more developers are being laid off and more studios are closing, unfortunately.
hmm
And I just wonder, like, is it true? Like, can't these developers and people that have been laid off, can't they just form their own studio? Especially like once they get their severance package, maybe they have a non-compete for a certain amount of time. But like once that one's out, can't they just like form their own studios? Since
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. But most employees who work for these gaming companies still have that kind of organizational skills like that of the higher ups because they're just developers, not the actual management. You know what I'm saying? So they're thinking about them own selves with their own creative skills or creation ideas of sorts. So try to put them together or have each developer have their own form of hierarchy in their own new studio will be conflict of interest too. So you're able to have a manager to see everyone, oversee everything, and then take it from there. But
right.
I'm not to say that they're not stupid or they don't know how to organize. It's just that this is based on my experience working in the workplace, obviously in the office field. Like you don't want to be like have your coworker be the manager of a certain company right away because that'll cause a little jealousy and perhaps envy and also competition within the negative competition within the office in the office itself. In my opinion, that is. So I rather just have someone from the outside like managing everything than to have someone within my group of coworkers that just like to screw things up for the sake of their own benefit. You know what I'm saying? That's how
But
I look
yeah,
at it.
you would think, I mean, it's if one studio lays off like 45 people, it's sad, but that's nothing. But with like the thousands of people being laid off, you would think they could at least, do like an indie, like a single A game or indie game, just with a team of a few people, and then a few more people could do a different indie game, and maybe they would merge together, maybe they would stay, very skeletal teams. But either way, you would think maybe they could, do that to land back on their feet. Because I mean, with layoffs happening the way they are in the game studios, it doesn't look like this is going to stop anytime soon.
Oh yeah, it's a never-ending cycle. There are some situations where there are some workers come together from previous studios or from like former studios, and they make their own gaming studios. Obviously, like that for example with FIFA 3 Industries and Halo and all, because Bungie used to be the head honchos probably creating Halo games, and obviously after when Bungie sold rights to Microsoft Studios, then FIFA 3 was made. And then yes, at first it would look good at first on paper for starting their own studios to oversee Halo, but then over the years that started to become more conflict of interest and creative conflicts and going on in the Halo projects and all. And then one leads to another. FIFA 3 is like a skeleton of itself. It sucks. That's how I look at it.
Yeah,
Because now Halo today, like today's Halo, is not the Halo that we grew up on 20 years ago. So
yeah. So I mean, it sucks, because you always wonder what could have been if this game had gotten released and people had, if it had hit store shelves or at least online marketplaces, how well would this game have done, basically.
yeah, it's only a matter of time too if that's the case. But it comes down to the crunch, what they call it, the crunch method, and situations and overworking and unionization of these workers and all. It's like a shit show in the long term. If you're not careful how well you deal with the unionization of the workers in these game industries, let alone any entertainment industry. So it's like it's long term, not meant to be. I guess not. So
Yeah. So unfortunately, um, hopefully these people can that got laid off from the studio can find work.
oh yeah,
Um, Anything else, Dad, or ready to move on?
you can move on right now.
All right. So next, Sony shutting down its reward program. Here are the deadlines for submitting claims. Sony is no longer accepting applicants. Sony has revealed that it will be closing the Sony Rewards program offered through its Sony and PlayStation branded credit cards at the end of 2024. An updated FAQ page, the Sony Rewards website and mobile application will shut down on December 31st, 2024. Users have until then to redeem any points and access their account, as well as submit any bonus points and purchase credit request forms through the app. However, after July 21st, users will no longer be able to mail in physical bonus points or purchase credit request forms. The rewards program isn't to be confused with the PlayStation Stars program, which is PlayStation's loyalty and digital collectibles program. The Sony Rewards program involves using the Sony and PlayStation Visa credit cards to accrue points in order to redeem items such as electronic gift cards and PSN store codes. The PlayStation credit card was first introduced in 2017. Microsoft recently introduced the Xbox credit card last year with MasterCard, which recently became available to everyone outside of Xbox's Insider program. It offers perks such as Game Pass Ultimate subscriptions for spending a certain amount of money within the first 12 months of opening the account. So let's
Hmm.
look at credit. Let's look at the comments. Pillow Rocks goes, I had 540 points, ended up getting a $5 PlayStation Network card. Bought Toy Story 3 for PSP for PS4, PS5. Lone Wolf 1044 goes, the card is rigged for you to more expensive stuff if you wanted to redeem more. With these types of cards, there is always an angle. Philip goes to Lone Wolf. What? So, that was my first thought when I heard this is shutting down. I was like, didn't Microsoft just add something in like this with their credit card? But now Sony is shutting it down, um,
Oh yeah,
basically this year.
oh
Uh,
yeah. It's a bad idea on Sony's part because it competed with Microsoft's credit card system and everything else between there. So, not to mention the rewards system that Microsoft has in place for at least what 3 4 years now. With its customers, if you're like a gold member, or as right now, if you're an Xbox Core member, you get like these perks, and when you buy stuff online through the Xbox store and all, and you get free gift cards or free 1 month memberships. So stuff like that. But now with Sony shut their stuff down, it's gonna look like a disincentive. It's doesn't look good on Sony's part right then and there.
yeah. Um, I mean, so and usually these reward programs, they're not really that. They're really not where you're gonna get a whole ton of games, even digitally, unless you basically just spend every free moment you have trying to earn points. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you could 540 points for about $5 store credit. That's pretty not that's really um reasonable, um based on other rates that I've seen, like when Xbox had the same thing. But now Xbox having this credit card program, I think Xbox jumped the gun on an idea that now it looks like Sony's getting out of. I
oh
mean,
yeah.
Sony's, and what's going to happen? Is this card going to be worthless? So like you can't buy groceries with it by the end of the year, or is it just the rewards being shut down?
That's almost just the rewards itself, not the actual card, because that'd be a disservice to his customers.
Right, but I'm just saying, I we don't know how much like Sony's rates were. I mean, I remember Microsoft's percentages was like 26%, 30%, and 32% interest on unpaid bills. So it's like it's kind of like, why would you use this unless that was the only card you could get? And even then, maybe you should just stick with your debit card from your bank.
Well, if you don't if you ever keep track of the economy for the last several weeks now, Triple J and anyone out there who listens to our podcast, things are not going so well with the sales of of like certain products and services. Things have been going up in the interest over with the deflation with inflation for the past 2 or 3 years now since 2020 2021. So people are desperate to the point that now they're using open up credit cards just to buy food at this rate. So they had no choice but to buy that Sony card at the time, or even the Microsoft card of the new credit card of Microsoft's Xbox. So
Yeah, I understand that, but I mean, unfortunately, what happens with those credit cards is like 4 weeks later they got to be paid. They got to be paid off. Otherwise, you're going to fall into an interest trap, and like with especially with the Microsoft card, that's going to be one trap that's hard to get out of if you
people,
don't pay the thing off in full. So, don't get me wrong. I know that's why credit cards exist, so you don't have to pay it off in full, especially if you can't. But at the same time, I'm just saying, these cards from like Microsoft, at least, because we covered the rates, the interest rates that they were offering. Um, it's almost like, I mean, I fell into the trap with normal credit cards. Um, I should have paid it off when I had the chance instead of just paying off half of whatever I had, trying because I was trying to save money. But this was also on unemployment, so on unemployment I wasn't making. But like I figured, if I gotta buy food, I gotta buy food. Um, so I know the struggle that people are going through, um, but at the same time, it's basically a trap.
oh yeah, if you're not careful, it can be a trap. But if you want to build up your credit over time, and as well as build up your credit score over time too, because now my credit score, I will admit this to you guys publicly, it used to be 4,999 earlier last year. Now it's up to 650, 649 give or take as of last week or two. So I definitely build my credit up over time, build my status with these credit card companies, and show a reputation that like I can pay bills on time even with the minimum payment. So that's what people are going to do for the next several months, if not years, to pay off minimum payments. Like I've been doing for years now. So that's all I can do for that time is the minimum payment. And I paid off finally some credit card bills and accounts. So
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, all I can say is get those rewards in as soon as possible.
oh
Um,
yes, indeed, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it to go back to Microsoft for that credit card, in my opinion. If you have no other option, and because obviously, if you've been a rewards member with Microsoft for the last several months, if not years, if you pay for your bills on time, go with this is based on my own situation. If I need to buy a credit card again, I'll go with Microsoft for this time around. I'm no financial expert. I'm no economist. But if I was me, want to get between Microsoft and Sony, I'll go for the Microsoft, card.
right. Well, like I said, there were this like Dr. Games 101 said, this is just a rewards program, but sometimes the rewards program is what makes it worth it.
Oh yes,
Get
indeed.
these cards.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We can move on right now.
All right. New Red Faction game was canceled after Embracer layoffs. Report. Mars barred. According to a new report, a Red Faction sequel was in development at one point before the project was canceled during Embracer's months-long period of layoffs. While this new game in the series was pitched to higher ups shortly after the original Red Faction studio, Volition had shut down Developer Fish Labs felt that it had the necessary experience to resurrect the series. As reported by Rock Paper Shotgun, Fish Labs put together an elevator pitch in trailer form to sell Embracer-owned publisher PlayStation on the idea. The visual prototype was built on an Unreal Engine 5, and the plan was to create a game similar to 2009's Red Faction Guerrilla, but it was never greenlit, and the project was canceled by November of 2023. Not long after, Fish Lab studio leadership was reportedly instructed to lay off almost every staff member not involved in active game project, and mass layoffs began soon thereafter. This wasn't the first time that Embracer had flirted with the Red Faction franchise, as back in 2019, Faction Guerrilla Remars remastered was released by the company. This version of the game had better visuals and even more impressive physics-based destruction. Its 2011 sequel, Red Faction Armageddon, never received the same treatment. Overall, Embracer had embarked on a series of drastic cuts lately, partially due to a major deal falling through. This was later revealed to have been a pact with Saudi Arabia's Savvy Games that fell through, and eventually 29 unannounced games were canceled and 1,400 people lost their jobs. Embracer Group is also splitting up into three distinct companies and has recently discussed its plans to use artificial intelligence technology to empower its employees during the game development process. So, comments. One comment. Buraxcano goes, job well done. So, do you have any experience with the Red Faction series?
I've heard of Red Faction as well as Red Faction 2 for the
Yep.
PS2 and all, and I actually have a copy of it on the Xbox One as the Xbox original copy. I never played it in years now, and it's been a while I haven't played any of the Red Faction games. Last time I did play any Red Faction games was back with you, actually, Triple J, back during when you were living in Long Island in your household. For I played it for a few minutes. It wasn't so bad. And the promotion for Red Faction was pretty cool too with Red Faction 2. So with the song from from that band, like keep your head,
Are you
yeah.
sure? Are you sure? Because the only Red Faction game I remember having back in Long Island was the original, and it wasn't even me. It was my father. He was getting back into games shortly at that point for a
I
short
see.
time, and
Okay.
Red Faction was one game he bought.
Yeah, it was. You had a Red Faction game, if I recall correctly. It was back for you Red Faction or Red
It was
Faction 2.
it was the original.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to give Red Faction a chance. The franchise. I never even got far in the original, to be honest.
Right.
But yeah, it sucks that this game. It sucks what happened to the developer. Um, but it just seems like Red Faction is one franchise that was like never able to get off the ground, no matter what they tried. I think I got like Red Faction 3 for the original Xbox.
Okay.
Um, but like I got stuck 15, 20 minutes into the game. So uh, yeah, so I mean, Red Faction, the original was good, but but that was, I think, the peak of Red Faction's success as a franchise. Um, Ever since then, it seems like Red Faction's just been trying to like get to that level again, but whatever they release just doesn't seem to work.
Right.
Um,
Also, if I can say this too as well, I also have other Red Faction games too, as called Red Faction Armageddon as well. So I never got a chance to play that game either. That's why the games were gold. So got some of the games from over the years. I keep forgetting about these games altogether.
yeah, so I mean, you must have gotten that before I joined Games with Gold because I never got that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, it sucks, but um, Red Faction has always been one of those series that's it's been like it just ever since the first game they just can't do they just can't find success no matter what they try with in their next game.
Right.
And it's always been honestly, while the background of Mars sounds like a great idea, it's um, honestly, to be fair, it is just when it just is a simple shooter. I mean, there's nothing about Red Faction that I've heard. Like it's not like a Call of Duty which has good stories. It's not, um, or it's not Doom which has like um, enemies that just bombard you, or rooms full of enemies, especially if you play on a higher difficulty. There's nothing. It's just a shooter.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yes, I mean, I've never even in like when it comes to stories and stuff, Red Faction doesn't even offer anything there. Boom, you're on Mars. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so it sucks, but unfortunately, that's the way. That's what.
Yeah.
But
Let's hope some one day they'll have some company or some group of people will reinvigorate the Red Faction series again. But for the last couple of games of Red Faction, I hear weren't all that great, so it wasn't doing too well for the last almost 10 years now. Prior to this new game was to come out, that's now canceled. So
Okay. Yeah. So I mean, unfortunately, un- unfortunately, it was canceled, but it was canceled due to the layoffs. So we don't know if this game would have been the one that would have gotten Red Faction back to where it was when it first came out.
oh yeah,
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
yeah. Let's move on.
All right. We don't have that many stories left. I think like four or five. So this is actually going to be a short episode.
Indeed.
Let's see, four. Yeah, four stories left. Classic Resident Evil games are back from the dead on PC. These new releases of the Resident Evil games feature several welcome upgrades. The last couple of years have seen several remakes of Resident Evil games, but for anyone looking to experience the franchise in its original low polygon glory, the classic games are making a comeback as part of a joint effort between Capcom and GOG. Now accessible through GOG, the first Resident Evil is available to purchase and will be followed by Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Nemesis soon. A bundle with all three that saves you 17% overall is available to purchase for $25. Like other GOG releases, these are all DRM-free versions of the survival horror games, and they've been upgraded with quality of life improvements and enhanced compatibility for modern PCs. GOG says this version of Resident Evil is the uncut edition and contains even more blood, graphic violence, and gory scenes than the PlayStation original. Speaking to Susie Super Hunter, GOG detailed some of the challenges in resurrecting the classic Resident Evil games. Technical issues and bugs had to be addressed so that Capcom's high standards could be met, and by the time the QA process had been completed, GOG had submitted dozens of builds for approval. Some of the enhancements for the games include improved DirectX rendering, new rendering options, and full support for modern controllers. Other changes are focused on improved timing and cutscenes, better save game managers, and the option to switch between different localizations of the games. Reports of a Resident Evil re-release picked up steam last week when age rating for the game was spotted online, making this GOG version the first time Resident Evil had been available on PC digitally. Meanwhile, Resident Evil Zero is reportedly one or two more remakes in development, and rumors about the still unannounced Resident Evil 9 claim that it could be an open world game. So let's go to comments. Um, Said Teen Grit goes, "Oh man, the original Resident Evil on PC was weird. It could only properly work in Windows 95. It worked on Windows 98 too, but the executable was inside the CD. And RE2 pre-rendered cutscenes were so broken, even with the coded installed worked as far as 98 and could run from the CD with almost no installation. Resident Evil 3 worked more traditionally. It was ported by Eidos." Wheelhouse 4 goes, "When they say support for modern controllers, would that include updating the task movement controls? I'd like to revisit the first Resident Evil, but I'm not sure I can get around the controls, which are present in the PC version of the Nintendo re-release." And Cyrus Eraser goes, "Yeah, the controls need to feel a lot better, and then I would pick this up." So how about you? Would you play the Resident Evil, the three original Resident Evil games on PC?
Yeah, why not? I mean, hell, even back as late as the 2000s, there was PC ports ripped or been pirated on some websites that people could download and play all with no problem. Almost not no problem, but yeah, they were finding a working way around it. Like get like a patch or something to fix the matter. Because I went to a certain website right back like 2004, the first year I've been on having internet access in my own home with my access to the full access to the computer at home via the internet. So there at the time this website showed like Resident Evil 2 and 3 and many other cool games as well, like Duke Nukem and all. But the problem though is that it was like one of these incomplete messes that was fucking displayed on their website. It didn't work as well. It will play the soundtrack or the welcome screen of these games and all, but it will just be freezing or just be like this the Fallout just say black screen and all. So it's kind of like those just some messed up versions of itself. So that was back then, of course. Now with Steam and all, hopefully they can make a workaround with it, make sure that it works well, in today's world of gaming. Obviously, tank controls got to be like leave as is. You want to have the proper Resident Evil experience of the first three. So you know,
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Resident Evil games, especially one and three. Um, I wish I wish I could still play Resident Evil Zero, so that will be um, in the future. But like I said, Resident Evil, I'm more of a console guy, especially since all I have is a laptop. These games probably could run on my laptop just fine, but I would be sticking to the console games. Just that's what I know best. But yeah, this sounds awesome because the Resident Evil games, you know, uh, nothing beats the original trilogy in my opinion.
oh
You can
yeah,
say whatever you want about 4, 5, or 6. 1, 2, 3 is awesome.
very awesome. I have all the games too. Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3 on both. Well, Resident Evil 1 I have on the PlayStation 1. Resident Evil 2 I have on the N64, and Resident Evil 3 I also have on the PS1 as well. So I got my collection for those first three. So
Right. Yeah, I'll probably be picking up a copy of even the PlayStation 1, depending how cheap each one is. But um, yeah. So I mean, yeah. So Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 being available to play, that's awesome. Uh, 3 maybe not so much, but that's only because I've beaten it so many times.
right,
I beat the PlayStation version over and over and over again. So
yeah,
you know, but then again, it's also been years since I played it, so I might, uh, I probably would play it again just for the heck of it, at least, and do like a online stream of me playing through it. Um, but yeah, so I mean, but the fact that that the controls are going to be changed and like quality of life improvements, as they said, so the games can actually run, because they only worked in Windows 95. Uh, this sounds awesome.
oh yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I'm ready to move on.
Okay. Next, PlayStation Plus free games for July 2024 are live now. PlayStation Plus subscribers can enjoy some interstellar action, play ice hockey, and wonder if their friends are sus this month. PlayStation has released this month's batch of free games for PlayStation Plus subscribers: Borderlands 3, NHL 24, and Among Us. A fun sequel to Gearbox's excellent shoot and loot games, the story of Borderlands 3 revolves around a cult known as the Children of the Vault. Billions of shiny weapons and family drama. While the main storyline isn't the best, the 4 DLC expansions tell a much better story, and one of them, sort of, sees Handsome Jack return to menace players. The timing on this addition to PlayStation Plus is also pretty good, as the live-action Borderlands movie will hit theaters in August. Next on the list is EA Sports NHL 24. This version of the game includes several new game features and upgraded modes, and the exhaust engine was used to create more authentic experiences on the ice. Double check that both the PS5 and PS4 versions are free before claiming them. Lastly, you can gather some friends and wonder which one of them is a horrendous alien that defies mortal comprehension in Among Us. The game became a huge hit during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, and since then it has remained a firm favorite as a social game with its frequent updates and nightmarish April Fool's jokes. If you've never played it, Among Us is all about holding a spaceship together as your crew works to return to civilization. The catch here is that one of your crewmates is a shape-shifting alien, and they'll be aiming to sabotage the ship and kill everyone aboard. The remaining humans have to finish their task and identify the imposter before it's too late. As a bonus in July, PlayStation Plus members can also claim in-game rewards for Genshin Impact with an exclusive bundle. This will be available starting July 16th and includes the following items: 160 Primogens, Fragile Resin, 20 Heroes Wit, 30 Mystic Enhancement 1, and 150,000 Mora. So let's look at comments, uh, upvotes. Blood Mist goes, Borderlands 3, by far and away one of the laziest sequels of all time in any medium. Perhaps that is very fitting for the modern state of PlayStation Plus. Ch- Chapert goes, this is a joke, right? Is it Among Us free to start with? And then Borderlands 3? How old is that now? Probably about 10 years.
Hmm.
And it's probably like the most basic version. Well, they did say it comes with the DLC, 4 DLC packs afterwards. This is a spit in the face to PlayStation Plus subscribers. Captain Wonton goes, isn't Among Us free like everywhere? Okay, so Sony basically getting raked over these offerings. What do you think of these games? Have you actually played Borderlands 3 or Among Us?
I only played the first Borderlands game so far. I'm about to the part where I'm very stuck now with all these high HP these enemies and all. Where every time I shoot, there's like 1 HP taken out at a time. So I don't know what else to do in that game other than try to go back to my roots and see what happens in that game. But other than that, that's all I can really say much about Borderlands in detail.
Okay.
It's good. Borderlands all right. Maybe my main line or my one of my best games to play, or in my opinion. But I'll play every now and then Borderlands. Now, as far as Borderlands 3 is concerned, I heard it was all right, average at best. The story, but then obviously, like I said, the DLC was much better. I hear so. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I own Borderlands 3 physically, so I
that's
mean,
good.
but I never got back. I stopped playing and just never got back to it. I do
Okay.
intend to though. So um, actually, I stopped playing when I let my Game Pass subscription expire because I was like, Borderlands. Even though I don't play with anyone online, that was an option if I got to a boss that was like too difficult to beat myself. But I'm just gonna have to grind and level up if I want to get further.
Yeah.
Um, so and yeah, so and NHL 24. Do you care about that? About the latest hockey game?
I'm not a big fan of mobile sports games, even though basketball should be like my top priority game. I should play the most of all sports games. Then wrestling, or actually for wrestling is first. Actually, wrestling is the first sports game, then basketball second. After that, it's like I'm barely playing those games. Hell, I still have my NHL games from I got from Games with Gold. I think it's NHL Hockey 19,
Yep,
2019. That's
I got
about
that
it.
too.
Yeah, and I haven't played that in years. First, only you
Well,
and I
you
played
can't.
together. You know.
Well, it's Xbox One, so if you unless you had Game Pass Core or Game Pass Ultimate, I don't think you could.
I see. Okay.
Um, yeah. So I mean, yeah. I mean, Borderlands 3. It's all right. Don't get me wrong. It's not as good as the first two. At least I think the first was the best. Um, to be honest.
Hmm.
Um, but so I mean, there's that. Then NHL 24. It's a hockey game. It's an annual hockey game. Big whoop. Um, and Among Us, yeah, I thought that was free too. So, I mean,
Hmm.
offering it as a free game to subscribers of your service is kind of like, well, we had nothing else.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it. I mean, so people have a right to be upset. You could have put anything. You got one mediocre game in Borderlands. You got one hockey game, and then you got a game that was is everyone is asking isn't this free everywhere?
Yeah.
So that's the PlayStation Plus offerings for July.
And I guess in order to make you pay like at least $125 or at least $100 a year just to play online only. So
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, yeah. Well, if you start treating your monthly customers like this, they're gonna get upset. And
yes,
the hardest thing to do is get them back if they make the decision to leave.
yeah. Sony. I know I should be bad mouthing Sony, but I hear Sony's been like considered to be a backstabbers and also like back turners. So they basically they'll give you a cool offering at one point, all of a sudden they'd stab you in the back afterward as soon as you hook, line, and sinker for it. So
Yeah. So unfortunately, Yeah, so if you have PlayStation Plus, these are the games you can claim.
Oh yeah,
Ready to move on?
yeah. We're gonna move on.
All right. Next, Capcom announces Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Frank West is making a comeback in Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster later this year. It's been nearly 8 years since Dead Rising 4 hit consoles, but Capcom is finally ready to revisit its other zombie franchise. While another sequel doesn't seem to be on the horizon, the original game is getting a second redo in Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Capcom announced the new remaster alongside a teaser trailer that brings back the series' original protagonist, Frank West, but unlike the 2016 HD remake of Dead Rising, the deluxe remaster appears to be a completely updated take on the 2006 game with a look that's closer to Capcom's Resident Evil remakes from the past few years. Although there's no gameplay in this teaser, the core premise of the title appears to remain the same. Frank is a photojournalist who's looking to get the story of a career by dropping into a zombie infested mall for 72 hours. Presumably, the remaster will once again allow Frank to deal with the zombie hordes in his own inventive fashion, while adding a few new tricks to the arsenal. Capcom hasn't announced a release date for Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, but it will be coming to the current generation of consoles. And if this return to the franchise is successful, perhaps we'll finally get Dead Rising 5 sometime down the road. So let me look at the comments uh, about Chrono Commander goes, what 2016 HD remake of Dead Rising is this article talking about? Did the writer seriously manage to confuse the movie with a game? GameSpot, please do your basic job as journalists. Well, Chrono Commander is wrong. The Dead Rising HD remake was part of Games with Gold. So, so Chrono Commander is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Z Zombie 13 goes, to Chrono Commander, 2016 saw the games get a remaster and put out on new platforms. Xbox One, PS4, and Steam releases of 1.2 and Off the Record were all released at the same time. Graphics were touched up, and in the original game, extra save slots were allotted to the player. They are also available on the Xbox Series as well as PS5. And Chrono Commander goes in response, that's the thing. It was remastered for these platforms, not remade. An outlet like GameSpot shouldn't mischaracterize the release and should fact check before publishing, and recently they've made several factual errors. For example, they were talking about Green Man Gaming reselling keys when it's a licensed store just because GameSpot copy pasted an article from Kotaku without checking. The typos and other errors cropping up everywhere are also increasing. Really concerned about this site. So, do you have any experience with the original Dead Rising game, either when it came out in 2006 on the Xbox 360 or the remake that we got with Games with Gold?
I played the first Dead Rising on the Xbox 360, or not necessarily Xbox 360 per se on the system itself, if I remember correctly, but definitely on the Xbox One when it was Games with Gold, and last time I checked. And it was all right. The game, it was not my, like I said, it with other games like Borderlands, it's just like it's all right to play every now and then if you have a co-op in it, but obviously that didn't happen until Dead Rising 3, right? So
Dead Rising 2 had Off the Record had it,
okay,
which was a spin-off of so like they had Dead Rising 1, then Dead Rising 2, but then like they released Dead Rising 2 Off the Record and Dead Rising 2 Case West, which was like a sequel,
I
but it was like
played
a 1 hour sequel or 2 hour sequel.
I played Case Zero, Dead Rising 2 Case
Yeah, it
Zero,
was like Case Zero, but it happened after Dead Rising 2, not before.
right?
And that had Chuck Green and Frank West team up, and then Off the Record, Dead Rising 2 Off the Record was you played as Frank West instead of Chuck Green. Chuck Green was a psychopath, but a second player could also join in and play as Chuck Green as an ally, which was
Mm-hmm.
weird. Having the same guy be as ally and a psychopath in the same game. Um, and then Dead Rising 3, I think, had co-op, and Dead Rising 4, I think, had co-op. Um, yeah, so but like I said, Dead Rising 4 kind of had like a small city. Dead Rising 1 and 2 were just the malls basically. Dead Rising 3 was trying to escape a small town, and Dead Rising 4 had like a small city with different locations that you could visit if you wanted to, but you might come across psychopaths that were too difficult to defeat depending where you went.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, why do we need this again? Dead Rising, because don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the first two Dead Risings, and I even will defend Dead Rising 4. The only one I really hated was 3.
Okay.
But why do we need a Dead Rising again? Uh, I mean, the 2016 remaster or remake or whatever you want to call it, that was fine. Do we really need another refresh of the graphics?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so if what they should do is they should make a little teaser like Case Zero and see if people would be interested in that. Um, because the first games were fine. But like I said, when I had games with gold, I was playing Dead Rising Remastered because I never got the good ending. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's a fun game. It's a fun game to revisit, especially if you never got the good ending.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like really releasing it again. You released it in 2006. You released it in Games with Gold, and like this article said, it was 2016, and now we're getting it again.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I hate to say this, I don't think you really have a good Dead Rising unless Frank West is the protagonist.
Okay.
Problem is, they killed him off at the end of Dead Rising 4.
That's not good.
Yeah, so I mean, unless they find a way to bring him back, um, although that was it was pretty badass how he ended up killing himself to save the story and basically his student who he was trusting the story to. What happened is anyway. For people who never played Dead Rising 4, Frank and his student that lured him into this scenario, they were making an escape. Frank still had those pictures. The student of his was going to write the story, so they escape. But they get attacked by zombies as they're trying to get on the plane.
Okay.
Uh, his student makes it on, but Frank West grabs onto like that those like railing that's like the step on the plane,
Yeah.
and zombies were hanging on to Frank.
Oh
But
wow.
so the student wanted to pull him up, but with all that extra weight holding on the plane couldn't fly away. The plane was about to go down. So Frank's holding on to the step, and he got his camera back on. He got his camera, and then Frank goes, "Keep your eyes on the prize." And he pushes himself off the plane step, with all the zombies falling with him,
Oh
so his
wow.
student could escape and tell the story. And what was awesome also about the storytelling in Dead Rising 4 was the game was like divided into 5 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, these chapters were all released at once though, so it wasn't like a game released in parts. But like in between every chapter, they had like Frank and his student explaining the story, and it was kind of like Criminal Minds. If I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah, I heard of it before. I seen at least episode at least once.
Okay, well, in the early episodes, when like Gideon or Hotchner did the explanation, um, usually they would talk and there'd be like a background of like the criminal committing acts or like whatever they're talking about. Remember how they had like the background be like the criminal participating in the acts that they've already participated in,
Oh
but
yeah.
that's kind of what they did for Dead Rising. In between every chapter, they had Frank and his student explain the story, and the background was like a green screen of what they've already encountered. And at the end, the student takes over the story, and she ends it by going, "I know Frank would like to reveal the story himself." But he wanted this. The one thing he wanted most was the story to get out there, no matter what.
Mm.
So yeah. So I mean, but I mean, they tried with Chuck Green, and they really tried. People just couldn't warm up to him, even though he had a daughter that was infected, and he lost his wife, I think, in Willamette, the
Mm-hmm.
first game. Um, Dead Rising 3, I didn't even finish it. I tried, I could not. Uh, I just could not care about that character. But Dead Rising 4, I finished because, like I said, you played through Frank West until the end. Um, but so I don't know what they're good. So I mean, this remake is coming out, but if they do Dead Rising 5, unless it's Frank somehow surviving after he uh, pushed himself off the plane, so his um, student could escape. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, because if they do change the protagonist, I don't think it's Dead Rising 5 would succeed.
I see. I didn't hear that Red Dead Rising 4 would do too so well because of the story wasn't all over the place or wasn't coherent necessarily. So
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I liked it. I played all the way through it when I rented it from GameFly. Um, but it like none of the sequels really stack up to the original.
I see.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Yeah, is more topics to cover?
We got a couple more.
Not a problem. Okay.
Okay, so we got one more. Before we move on, we do have one more that was planned for the podcast this past Saturday, but I've only been able to find one article this past week for the podcast that's supposed to happen in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Do you want to cover that one extra article that I found
Yeah,
also?
sure. Yeah, why not?
Okay. All right. So the last planned article for this past Saturday's podcast. Xbox Cloud Gaming is coming to Amazon's Fire TV sticks in July. This is
All
the
right.
story that you suggested.
Mm-hmm.
The Xbox TV app is moving beyond Samsung's own monitors and TV. Microsoft is launching its Xbox TV app on Amazon's Fire TV sticks in July. The Xbox app will provide access to Xbox Cloud Gaming so subscribers to Game Pass Ultimate can stream a variety of games directly to Fire TV devices. Microsoft will support the Fire TV Stick 4K Max and Fire TV Stick 4K models for the Xbox app, which will be available in more than 25 countries. All you'll need is a compatible Fire TV Stick, a Bluetooth-enabled wireless controller, and an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription to stream Xbox games. This marks the first time the Xbox TV app has launched a device other than Samsung's recent TVs and monitors. Microsoft first partnered with Samsung in 2022 to launch an Xbox TV app on Samsung's 22 smart TVs. An Xbox app also appeared on Men's Quest VR headsets last year, providing access to Xbox Cloud Gaming. Over the past several years, we've been on a journey to deliver cloud gaming to more devices and to more people around the globe, says Ashley McKissick, head of Xbox Experience and Platforms Engineering. We are excited to add Fire TV to our growing family of cloud gaming devices and eager to welcome new players into the experience. So let's see if I want to see if I can find comments. So just one moment. Sort by uh, most received, I guess. JV Fitz goes, why even sign exclusive deals? If I was Microsoft, I'd want this on everything from TVs, streaming sticks, Apple TVs, hotel rooms, shit, a TI-80 calculator if I could. Mentalist goes, it's possible that they believe co-marketing deals during a staggered rollout is going to be more beneficial to two more universal ability. Cloud gaming isn't really taking off much. You could see that in the fact that Microsoft don't have a more accessibly priced streaming only Game Pass tier. And Astro Wizard goes, so I'll assume this is why the Xbox TV stick was canceled. So now how long before it comes to Roku? This was your story, so you want to go first?
Well, to be honest with myself, I'm obviously I'm a big Amazon user. I'm a big customer of Amazon since as early as 2005, before it became web mainstream out of the books and all. So back in the early to mid 2000s, it was selling books on Amazon. So since then, it's a blessing to have that. And I think buy wrestling pay-per-views and wrestling shows, stuff like that, and wrestling special programming. yeah, as you can tell, I focused so much on wrestling back in my early days. Of course, I was a big wrestling fan. And all. So now, as of the last couple of years now, Amazon started to develop its own gaming platform of sorts, along with their Microsoft Xbox. Because Microsoft owns Amazon, I believe, if I recall correctly, right? Triple J.
I'm sorry, say that again.
If I recall correctly, Amazon is owned by Microsoft, right? By
No,
chance?
no. Amazon is their own company because they own Twitch.
Okay, okay, right. That's the one. Okay, so Amazon owns Twitch. Yes, I remember now. Okay, so basically, it's his own head honcho of stuff with the competition, and they said to themselves, you know what? Let me just use that for for gaming, us Amazon people, and then compete with other platforms like Microsoft and as well as with Sony and all. So, I guess you could say that it's Amazon Fire Kindle TV, whatever you call it, because obviously I also do read their books as well too. They put on the website. So I do have an account called Luma. I think it's called Luna. So I
Yeah.
actually collected a lot of games over for free at one point. That's on my account. That's been a few years I haven't checked my account, but still, it's still in those games like Street Fighter 2, Metal Slug, Captain Commando, Marvel vs. Capcom. I think they have one game in there, or at least a fighting game going around Marvel and Capcom, or both. I forget which one it was, but yeah, it's a blessing to see that Amazon starting their own little gaming service. Problem though is that they try to act like Google Stadia as of late. So I guess it's just well, I guess you can say that if they wait a few more years, they can outperform Microsoft somehow, some way. But now it's too early for that. It's not gonna happen anytime soon. But over time, well, let's give it some time and see what happens. So that's how I look at it with this particular situation where Amazon Fire TV is like at first it was the watching streaming content, of course, on their website, but now you play video games on their website as well, or through a web hosting service. So pretty cool.
Yeah. My thoughts is, and you brought up Google Stadia, and honestly, that's what I think of when I heard about this. Um, it's obvious Microsoft is putting everything in the Game Pass, um, which is why another reason I don't want to even think about getting an Xbox Series. Um, they're putting everything in the Game Pass, and honestly, it's kind of like, did you not learn what happened Stadia?
Yeah.
I mean, now you're doing the exact same. Okay, maybe not the exact same thing, but now you're trying something that we didn't have the technology for to make Stadia well, to make Stadia a success. So now you're trying to do the same thing they did just a few years later after they shut down.
Oh yeah.
Uh, okay, and these are the guys that are making the big bucks. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I just don't think they should not be doing this.
Oh yeah.
Because look at what they're doing. In the meantime, they're killing off interest in their consoles. Anyone who would have interest in the Xbox brand is basically losing interest on it because if Microsoft doesn't care about the Xbox Series or any consoles in the future, why should anyone else?
Oh yeah. They're more focused towards like being a publisher, as if we used to type of here.
Well, not just a publisher because they do got Game Pass, but they're putting all their eggs in that basket. It's like something that was supposed to be a feature. Now they're just basically want to cut off everything except that feature and have that feature be its product.
Oh yeah.
Um, so I mean, it's just I just don't get it. I just don't see why. How is this smart business? Why kill off your brand and go, okay, we're putting all our eggs in one basket?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work. That usually doesn't work. If it does work, you're one of the luckiest companies there is. If it doesn't work, people are going to be like, we told you so. But you're not going to be able to go back and reverse course because all those people that you burn bridges with, because they don't want to support your products, you're going to be without consoles like Sega now is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look how Sega died. The Genesis was great. The Sega CD, that's going to be the hot new thing. It wasn't. 32X, this is going to be the new hot thing and keep Genesis alive. It didn't. Sega Saturn, this is going to be the hot new thing. This is going to be, this is it. And it wasn't. And by the time the Dreamcast came out, people were like, "Yeah, Sega, we heard how this was the one before," and the Dreamcast also became a flop because of Sega, because so many people had lost trust in Sega at that time. And it's almost like Microsoft's doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, and you're also going for a service that's just not really steady. That's just really doesn't have the infrastructure because other companies have already tried this, like Google Stadia, and that failed.
Oh yeah.
So I just don't see the thought process.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Yeah. One more topic left. Right. Right.
Yep, yep.
Understood.
So ready to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. Podcast 102 might be a short episode if there's even an episode at all, because news, even before the 4th of July holiday, this is the only one article I found, but I figured since I have it ready to go, and this ended up being shorter than we thought it would,
Oh yeah.
this would
Summer.
be
Yeah, the summertime is usually the time for gaming where it's calmed down a bit. Everyone's just gaming, having a good time, going outside and all. So, well, for like Christmas, Thanksgiving, obviously I'll pick it up again. You know.
right. Well, I mean, you really can't say that because Summer Games Fest, Nintendo Direct, those just happened.
Yeah, of
So,
course. Yeah.
but again, um, anyway, final story for tonight. New Crazy Taxi game takes the open world route with MMO elements. Sega provides new details in a developer interview. Sega has confirmed that the new upcoming Crazy Taxi game will feature an open world and contains multiplayer elements. In a new developer interview, translated by Automation Media, Sega said it is currently working on testing the game's
Hello.
multiplayer
Yes.
compatibility, including MMO
I'm
elements.
sorry.
The
This is
goal
from
here is to
KFC, right?
experiment with new mechanics for the game while keeping Crazy
All right, give me a
Taxi's
minute. Okay, give me
chaotic
5
feel.
minutes. Thank you.
It boasts photorealistic visuals, and its setting and models are inspired by what looks to be California and the West Coast. The developers explain that the bright yellow taxis with vibrant blue skies help create an energetic and exciting world. The open world structure is also inspired by theme parks. While not much new footage was shown in developer interview, it shows a player driving a police-style taxi while chasing down others in regular taxis, which gives a hint of what multiplayer concepts the team is working with, such as a tag or search and destroy kind of mode. The new Crazy Taxi game was announced at the Game Awards 2023, along with new entries in 4 classic Sega franchises: Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Streets of Rage, and Golden Axe. So far, platforms and release windows were not revealed. The last Crazy Taxi game was 2017's Crazy Taxi Tycoon, a spin-off game on iOS and Android. The last mainline entry was 2002's Crazy Taxi 3 High Roller. So, are you happy that Crazy Taxi is making a comeback?
Surprisingly, yeah. I have a copy of Crazy Taxi for years now on the Xbox. I was with the games of gold and
Yep,
all, but
me
and the
too.
Dreamcast as well. I could have gotten a copy of the Dreamcast as well back in the day, obviously, but didn't have the money or ask my mom the actual the goal to just ask her give me a copy of Crazy Taxi. But yeah, it was the one of the best things for the Dreamcast of its time, and
Yep.
yeah,
I think it was the second best-selling game of all time on the Dreamcast.
oh yeah. What was the first best selling game?
I have no idea.
Definitely not Blue Stinger, that's for certain.
Maybe Sonic Adventure.
Sonic Adventure 2, especially, yeah.
Let me see. I'll see if I can find it. Best-selling game on the Dreamcast. Uh, let's see. Sonic Adventure. I was right.
Okay, not a problem.
2.5 million copies. Crazy Taxi, I heard, was 750,000 copies sold. Dreamcast numbers, anyway.
All right, all right.
Yeah. So this is pretty interesting. I still play Crazy. I still play around the Crazy Taxi here and there, because I have it through Games with Gold. Um, so and like the open world elements, I could just imagine other people. Um, what I thought when I heard multiplayer, though, I thought I thought it was going to be like other people trying to get their passengers to their destination, and those would be the cars getting in your way this time
Hmm.
instead of just NPCs. Um, but and maybe that's still a possibility. I would like some kind of police chase mode, like Need for Speed has in Most Wanted or Hot Pursuit or anything like that. Um, that would be also. So this does sound cool. This does sound interesting. Um, I have you played anything besides the original Crazy Taxi?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because I did play Crazy Taxi 2. I owned it for when it came into the store. I did play it. Don't remember anything about it. I never tried Crazy Taxi 3. Um, and I don't play mobile. I don't play mobile phone games, so I never played the one on uh, iOS or Android.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so there's no release date. There's no telling what consoles it's going to come out for. But they basically said they're going to try MMO elements. So like there'll be real world people in this game.
Sorry, just give me a minute.
There'll be real world elements in this game.
Hello.
Or real people playing this game at the same
Yeah,
time
I'm
you
sorry
are,
for the wait, but
if
you
they can
getting
make
too
it
early?
MMO
Yeah, give me a
like.
couple more minutes, okay? I just want to
Um,
bring it
the
upstairs,
only
okay?
problem with that is I know like when you join an MMO,
Give me a couple
that
more
game
minutes.
is linked
I'll
to
give you a couple
you,
minutes,
or
okay?
that copy of
I'm
the
sorry, I'm
game
in the
is
middle of a
linked to you.
podcast right now. Be with us
So
a couple minutes. Thank you. Please
um,
wait. All right.
hopefully
Thank
there's a
you.
trial to see if this is something that you would come back to,
Right.
other
I'll
than
give
just
you a
every
couple
once
minutes.
in a
Thank you.
while. Um, but yeah, I'm interested. I'd love to see Crazy Taxi come back.
Hey, Triple J, I have to step away for a couple minutes. I have to get something for my family, whatever.
Okay.
I'll be back in a couple minutes. You can continue the podcast, whatever. Okay.
Okay. Well, this was the last story, but I will continue. All right. So while Doctor Games 101 steps away, I'll just do my ending. I'll do my outro. Um, so anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode 101 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. Like I said, news has been slow. So if episode 102 is short or delayed, it just means not enough news has come out. Uh, if we find like less than like 3 or 4 stories, we're not going to go live for 30 minutes. So but then again, there's been weeks where like week one, between the podcast was absolutely no news, and then week two, news just was coming at. I was finding news articles every day that I wanted to bring up. So um, we will keep you notified if there's going to be another podcast. If we do, it'll be in 9 days from today. We're not moving it to Thursdays. We only did this tonight because un uh, Discord was completely um, uncooperative when we tried to do this Saturday night. Um, so yes, so I'm just gonna wait for Doctor Games 101 to come back. And as far as tomorrow, because I am off tomorrow, Friday is my day off from work. I don't have any plans to be on Twitch. Um, so yeah, so don't expect to see me on Twitch. I'll probably be working on my store. Um, so yeah, so uh, but I was off for July 4th, and I'm off tomorrow. So because Friday is my normal day off from work. So we'll just wait for Doctor Games 101 to get back, and he can wrap up. Um, he can wrap up um, and discuss any plans he's got for tomorrow or the weekend. By the way, do check out my on my Twitch channel. Do check out my links, especially to my website. I do plan to upload a written review of The Punisher for PlayStation 2. I do have most of it done. I just got to add in a couple things. But I am going to try to get that up tonight if I can, unless me and Dr. Games 101 hang out after this podcast. Um, but if not, that'll probably be uploaded tonight.
Okay, Triple J, I'm back. I'm sorry for the
Okay.
wait.
So yeah, so I was just letting people know what my plans are for the weekend. Do you have any plans? Twitch wise or YouTube wise for this weekend?
I think what I'll do is some like Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay, as well as more of Edo Chronicles, if I can still have access to that.
Okay.
I have Traveler 1, I think about doing sometime this month as well. So, more, if I have more time available, so I'm not doing as much tournaments online. I'm trying to look for more tournaments to play for money price, stuff like that, since I cannot really find a steady job. I mean, I could find a job, of course. It's the problem, though, is that when it comes to me looking for at work, most of the times the physical related matters. And I don't have that stamina as I used to, like the dishwashing, back in the house work, porter, furniture associate. I used to do that stuff in the past, but in my 30s and above, man.
Yeah, yeah. We're just a few years away from 40, so
Yeah, so I'm not a spring chick as it used to be. So I can get those jobs with no problem, but my performance, they're gonna say, "Oh, you're too slow, Doctor Games," or "You're too, you're not picking up properly because of your back problems, whatever." So, yeah, the owners, the employers see that, and I want to waste my time each and every time with these jobs like that. So I rather stick with office work, maybe. But I had to do office
yeah,
work in the past too. So it's ridiculous. Like today's time is and plus also there's fake listings with the job posters that's been out and about in the news today. So, we were right the whole time that when you apply something online, never existed. So that's even worse on my part too as a worker.
Where have you been searching for a job online? Like what job sites?
Indeed, Monster. There's one called for a newspaper company called Newsday. I forgot the actual name of their website. Those type of websites, yes. And
Okay,
also, yeah.
okay. Indeed is pretty good. Monster, the one time I used it was pretty bare bones. Um, but I think Monster was just a couple years old last time I used it.
Right.
I was just wondering. Indeed is how I found my job. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I mean, you definitely can. Nothing against dishwashing or furniture moving, but you're just a few years away from 40, so neither of us really would be able to do it for that long.
Indeed. 6 days a
So
week, 8 to 10, 12 hours a day.
no,
it's not the same right now.
yeah, my cousin does tree removal, and I mean he's just a week younger than I am, so
Oh wow.
um, but it's gonna catch up to him physically. But he's more comfortable with like uh those kind of tough jobs than office work.
Oh
Like
yes, indeed.
honestly, it would be smart for all of us to get into office work, my cousin included. But
Oh yeah. See, that's all I got that for the time being for this month, or at least
okay,
this as of this today.
okay. So anyway, we if we do have more stories, we will be back in 9 days from now. Um, same Twitch channel as always. Until next time, good night, everyone.
Happy 4th of July, guys. See you later. And I stop recording.